Welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. I'm Mark Williams. I'm joined by Shane Laflin. And we got a kind of a little slow week for us here, a lot of live streams, but the big deal is the WNBA's kicked off. And so we're going to talk players, we're going to talk WNBA, all in this episode. So we appreciate you tuning in today. Hey, so let's look at some live stream players that we've caught our eye this week, and I know we focused a lot on 2022s and 2023s. I did want to mention there was one 2021 that I saw, Lauren Mcdonald. She plays for the Lady Lightning out of Illinois, and I know they're on the Blue Star league or team or whatever, but she caught my eye playing Ohio United, just a strong guard who can shoot it and handle it and stuff. So if you're still looking, especially at the mid-major level, she'd be a great kid to see and find. So found a kid there, which is good. But let's get into the 2022s. I know that's where we've been spending the bulk of our time. And Shane, who are some kids that you saw this week?
These are ones maybe I watched towards the end of last week, and we mentioned a bunch, and I didn't mention the couple 22s from FGB, Kaylin Ellis. I first saw her play She Got Game Atlanta a couple years ago. I think the first She Got Game Atlanta. Right. And was a skinny shooter. If I'm not mistaken, they've been out to the Duncanville tournament as well at Christmas time. But she was kind of a young freshman confident shooter. And there hasn't been a time that I've seen her play that she hasn't knocked down multiple threes at a really good percentage. And so she's grown, she's gotten stronger, and she's on a good FGB team that can create off the bounce and shoot it. So her game really fits with them. And then we cannot fail to mention Kaylin Gilbert, who is a major stock riser to me as far as the ability to play with the ball in her hands and really break people down. Nice mid-range pull-up, floater game, three ball, knows how to create space. I kind of always can't help myself as from a coaching standpoint, I would ask her to be a little bit more active without the ball in her hands. Right. Talent-wise, definitely understands the game because she understands the angles to attack off the bounce. And there's just not a lot of people that have the ball on a string the way that she does. Just would like to see the movement and maybe a little bit creation. And then defensively, you watch a really talented player guard when they want to, but you want to make sure they make some differences off the ball too. And that's just in terms of getting her with her habits as she's going to inevitably transition to a pretty high level Division I program.
Right.
You got some? I got a couple more. Go ahead.
Got a couple more. Well, I got a team. I got to see Blue Star St. Louis, and I'd heard some rumors and just some feedback on them, and they played very well, and a lot of skill players, a lot of interchangeable kids who stuck out. Nia Castro, a 6'1" wing. Put it on the floor, shoot it. Ella Evans and Allison Fitzgerald, both are 6'2" kids, can shoot it, post, handle it a little bit. But that whole team is just solid kids. They're out of the St. Louis area. And so they were impressive to me. So who else you got?
Got you. I was able to watch follow up with the Cal Stars because I wanted to watch a couple of their young ones. They had a point guard, 2022, Talana Lapolo. Okay. That had intrigued me. So I went back as the Iowa event got over with to watch some of the later championship brackets. Right. And she had intrigued me because she was really setting the table in the games that I caught. I watched a couple halves, just spot checking on some other teams. But I wanted to circle back. And the game I watched, this last one, that was really nice. She pushed the ball and with the intent of drawing and finding. And then if you're not careful, she'll surprise you with a little bit of shake. So you're talking true point guard. As we'll talk later, with the WNBA stuff. Floor generals and setup people are just, to me, it's the most important position in women's basketball. Absolutely. Obviously, your really tall, active athletes can make a big difference. So not discounting them. But if I was drafting, like Jason Key likes to ask us, all right, drafting, who would we I'm pretty sure I'm still going to lean on a true point guard to start my team, especially as things are getting more open and we're not playing with traditional posts in the paint. Point guards who will push and distribute, very valuable. So I'm glad I went back and watched her. Wisconsin Flight, their 16U teams got some 2022s, and then their top teams got some 2022s. Two of them I'd like to highlight. Lily Cron, shooter, quick trigger, shooter, playing in the convention center, still stroking that thing. Good, I mean, off the move, space. They run dribble drive really well. As an organization, Wisconsin Flight shoots the ball really well, and they play very well out of the dribble drive. And that needs to be highlighted because I think a lot of people think they run dribble drive, and what that means to a lot of club coaches is 4 out dribbles and handoffs, and it means too much dribbling. Wisconsin Flight runs the predicated movements. They move well without the ball, and they find open shooters, and they do a good job, and they know when to get off the ball. So they all do a really good job. Like I told Nick, I want to ask Dave Donarski what he does with the guards, because his daughter that's headed to Iowa State, and then his younger daughter, Macy, they do a good job of footwork, creating space and getting by people. And they're not necessarily always the best athletes on the floor. They're good athletes, but it's not their quickness it's their footwork. Right. So I'd like to kind of know. And I asked Nick, he said, we do a lot of breakdown stuff. And so it's one thing, Dave Donarski's a coach there at Aquinas in Wisconsin. It's one of those basketball things, right? Like what do you guys do to get that consistent footwork? And then on the top team that he's got, the 17U team, I should say, Emily LaChapelle, all-around player, big guard, just kind of knows how to play. Like one of those ones, like a jack of all trades. And again, coaching hat, I see the size and the length that she has. Wisconsin Flight will play some different zones. Would like to see her a little bit more active on the glass on both ends, and then play with her length and be a little bit more active defensively. She's a really good, solid player. You know what you're going to get out of her.
Right. Well, and I saw Michigan Finest, and I had seen them. They'd come to our events like a while back and kind of kept tabs with them, but I hadn't seen much of them lately. But one of the kids, when I watched them, Ella Miller out of East Lansing, a 6'1" forward who can shoot it, rebounds, defends, does a lot of good things. And so an interesting kid. I'm going to check on some more film here in the next couple of weeks on her and just kind of get a second look. But, she's a kid that is interesting. And they always do a pretty good job out there of developing their kids and having some good length. Typically kids who can shoot it. And so she's a kid that, going to pay attention to, make sure and check out again. And then, another one, Alabama Southern Stars, Kara Dunn. And she is just a slasher, get the ball down the lane, creating off the catch, plays with good energy, rebounds, does a lot of good things well. And, there with Doug Bush and onto that 2022 team. And so she's another kid, a good athlete who is just a player to watch in that 2022 class.
Yeah, she's gotten better since the high school season. I also saw her in Atlanta this year. And again, this is one of those fact-checking things, but I think she plays for her mom in high school. But I need Basketball Bob next to me so I can reference
there you
it.
go.
We were watching
Mount Perrin Christian, I believe.
I think so. That just sticks out of my head. So I'm gonna have to fact check that. But I remember watching her with Bob, and she's better since high school year. A lot of her stuff in high school was downhill to the paint, close to the rim. But I've seen some nice pull-ups, 3-ball, slasher abilities. She's smooth. I like her.
She is, and that's what she did a lot of. And you mentioned the three, and the three's coming along, and that's kind of going to be the big thing in this next year is really to develop that side, especially if she's looking to go to the BCS level, just so people have to close out, and that creates for the her slashing and attacking the basket. But she has a ton of tools to play with, and And that's solid. It's a solid team with the Stars at the 2022 level, and they got a bunch of good pieces and a point guard and another big and a big kid who can shoot it. And so, but she just kind of stuck when I watched them play.
Yeah, I like their lefty guard they have on that team. Man, I just put her in the database. Hang on a second. I got to figure out who it was now that you're mentioning that. I think Sharday Watkins is the lefty guard, was real shifty on that team. Good player. Yep. Good player. Caught my eye. Like gets by you in small space. So it's valuable.
Absolutely. And then another kid is Caroline Backus. Two kid. Stretch four who can shoot it. So everybody's always looking for a stretch four who can shoot it. So
got to get a little more physical. Got to want to go get and mix up for the rebounds.
Right.
But definitely likes to shoot it and can stretch you.
Yeah. Which is, she does need to be more aggressive, and she kind of tends to stand on the perimeter. And she can, on the three. She can shoot it, but like to see her at some point put it on the floor a little bit and kind of create off of it. At least keep the defender from closing out super hard and taking the jumper away. But 6'2" and can shoot it. You can work on those kinds of stuff. So, yeah. Any other 22s?
That was really it for this week as far as like really ones that I wanted to highlight. I mean, we put in, I think between you and I, this week, I think we've got over 100 evals in the database for different levels. So, that's, I didn't really realize going in until I started putting them in the database, how many we got. So I wasn't skeptical about film going in, but I was skeptical about getting good evals. But as it progressed, and as you and I talked early July, but as people played better, I felt better about my evals. And I talked to a bunch of college coaches this week. I was following up on some things for the fall, and just happened to talk to a lot of coaches and a lot of head coaches this week and in the last couple of days. And they kind of felt the same way. They're like, we were watching.
Right.
We wanted to make sure we were doing our due diligence, but we felt better about our evaluation as we got to see teams more than once. And we kind of got used to being able to compare film-wise, because not all film was the same, or not all live stream was the same. So I feel pretty good about that, and I feel good about our numbers there. And we'll just continue to watch, which is great about having the film banked. And stuff like that.
Well, and the the Midwest, the Southeast, the South, beginning of July, they all kind of started playing. Well, first couple of weeks was like the beginning of April, in a true AAU season. And so now the majority of them have had multiple events. And so it's getting better where, the East Coast, especially Northeast, they've had some, and now we're getting into week 3 and week 4. And so, that basketball is getting better, but,
and I'll be, Joe Fenelon will have an event this week that'll have some teams that we haven't seen on team lists yet.
Right.
And then obviously, which we'll touch on later, Prime Event East is not only loaded talent-wise, but the numbers are looking great. So you and I will head up to Spooky Nook by way of Philly in a couple weeks, and we will invade some new territory and see some East Coast kids. So that's going to be fun.
Which we're excited about.
Yeah. What, you want to move into 23s?
Yeah, let's get on 23s. What you got?
So going back to FGB, Talia Scott. Man, I think it's one of those I think she's going to be pretty big time. I remember seeing her. She got game DC. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first time noticing the talent. USA trials, I think we saw her. Maybe it was USA trials, not she got game. I think it was USA.
It was.
And just had a skill set, a poise, a confidence about her, and has just improved in every aspect, and then improved physically, as comes with just time, right? So creates off the dribble, shoots the 3, tough to stop in transition, good size. I had fun watching her play. And so I look forward to her continued growth and her ability to be a really impact player potentially at the next level. It's early. I'm not one to care about bestowing a level and sticking with it, but she's one that's got my attention for sure. Moving down the line, 23, Wisconsin flight Antonique Austin put on a show in the championship of their bracket in Iowa, this latest version of Iowa, or the latest session, I should say. She can put on the deck. She can create space. She's got an easy stroke. She's just calm about her and just made shot after shot after shot. And, Wisconsin flight, it was like watching Washington Mystics last night in that particular game. They just shot it well. And it's because the ball moves and they take good shots. And then you see teams make shots, or you see teammates make shots, and it's contagious.
Right.
Also on that team, Macy Donarski, skilled PG, not as tall as her sister. Obviously, there's time. We'll see if it gets there. But chops you up, gets in a gap, creates a little bit of stunt help, creates for somebody, moves around, gets it back, can catch and shoot it, the pull-up, makes great decisions, basketball IQ off the charts. Again, quality PG, chance to play a lot of places. And so 23s, I'm glad to see their games maturing. I'll throw a couple more at you in a minute. What else you got?
Yeah. Got one particular that stood out. I saw her last year at I think the national championship there in Atlanta, but Madison Booker out of Mississippi, and a big kid. And one thing that I like that I saw is her growth, just maturity and leading the team. She played a lot of point forward for them, but a kid who can play pretty much any position. Great size, handle it, really, really good passer. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people underestimate with her is she can really get the ball to the right spots and some understanding, some angles we still got to work on and stuff to make it there. But, a kid who can really create off the bounce and the catch and stuff. And so the jumper's coming along and which is really nice. But, really a top level kid out of the state of Mississippi that I know is getting heavily recruited there by the SEC, but it's good to see a top end kid's game continue to evolve. We see too many kids who are anointed, lack of a better word, at a young age, and then they plateau, and that's kind of the best that they've been. But it was good to see her really just kind of grow and her game grow. So definitely a top end kid to know, and we're going to have fun following. So who else you got?
Jada Williams, Missouri Phenom. I may have mentioned her in the last show. Watched a little bit more film. Brooke McCarty-esque, and just, again, if there's a theme to maybe some of my stuff today is quality point guard play. And I like to point out when you've got these players that get, and it's not them. It's maybe the people around them or people who want to be in these circles that do a little bit too much when these players are young. Right. And it's just got to leave them alone and let them play sometimes. But this is one I'm really happy because tremendously talented, definitely high IQ, feel for the game, and then has not just grown in terms of trying to score it all the time. Right. Shoots it well, can score it, very skilled. Best asset is she moves it quickly, advances the ball, gets to the big, knows where the ball needs to go, makes everybody better. Fantastic. Can't say that enough. The new to my radar, 2023 Lisa Thompson, Midwest Elite on one of their 16U teams, has that ball on a string. Kind of skinny and quick, like lanky right now. And she just is crafty and creative off the dribble, has nice range on the three, creates space for the pull-up, and then again, balances that by when there's outlets and there's chances to advance the ball, she does that. And she's playing on a pretty good team with some pretty good 2023 talent on that 16 team. Jordan Wood is like a forward on their team, is kind of in the mold of a Natalia Marshall, just in terms of build, 6'3", 6'4", young, and then just active. And then you can tell she's pretty skilled. So her role and her niche, the thing she's best at, will become defined. But she's good on the glass. She challenges everything within the paint when she's there, just if it's within 8 feet of her, she's got a hand up, it changes a shot. It changes a shot. And then showed the ability in the slot to stretch the D and hit a 3. And then Alyssa Latham on that team, I believe she's at Homewood, Flossmoor, or Floosmore. I forgot. I don't know really how to say that. Energy and skills with some length. Was noticed her running the floor first, then I noticed her energy on the glass and just her intensity. And then they were being pressed, and she put on the deck, changed direction sharply, found somebody. So like her, she's lengthy, and I like her. Couple more, but you go ahead and I'll circle back.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, it's got to do a better job this week for me with seeing some young kids. I watched some older kids. Trying to follow up on some high-level kids for some rankings and different things like that. Yeah. So, I spent a lot of time this week just 21s checking in on some kids just with rankings and stuff. And so this next week I'll focus a lot more on the 23, especially finding names coming up. So who else you got?
I've got Macy Heward for Colorado Premier 2023, their 16U team. She and her family actually moved from Washington to Colorado, I think in the last few months, and they're gonna attend Valor Christian. I believe her sister committed recently. It's Montana or Montana State.
Montana State.
Is it Montana State?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And she's gonna be a solid. She has all-around game. Just has a nose for the ball, can shoot it, knows where to get it, doesn't try to do too much, and is a good size. And then she's playing on a team with the 2023. I saw at TOC this year, actually at a Utah, but is on Colorado Premier. Maggie Mendelson, about 6'5", pretty mobile. She doesn't get as many touches, which will surprise no one in the club scene so far. I would imagine over time that will get corrected because she has great hands. She's a good passer out of the post in the doubles. They get zoned because they're kind of big, so she's a good passer from the high post in the short corner area. But, man, she runs the floor well, has good hands. So she's one that I've gotten a lot of calls on after TOC and kind of in this spring as people are digging for their classes, prepping for 2023, and then was able to watch them. So that was pretty good. And I think from a highlighting standpoint in this show, that's pretty solid for me. Those guys really stood out. The ones that we talked about really stood out, and was able to lock in and watch some full games. So I appreciate the fact that they kept me locked to watch a full game.
Absolutely.
And then the tournament championship games, or the final 4 games of these winter brackets were pretty solid. So again, I'm really happy for the quality of the game with what I saw this week.
Yeah, another 2021 kid. It's interesting story, but she's a 6'6" kid. Her name is Alex Stewart. She's playing with CBC, Colorado Basketball Club, out of there. Interesting story. Her family actually lives in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a family or a home there and outside the Denver area. And so she's been playing with them. And so, we'll see what she does school-wise. There may be a chance that she stays here for her senior year, or they may have to go back to Malaysia. I don't know with COVID-19, but she's a kid. Now, she's raw, but she's got a lot of tools with 6'6" and long and length and moves pretty well and stuff. And so that's a kid that coaches can see and get on, that if she goes back to Malaysia, it's probably going to kind of get lost. And so, but you can't beat 6'6" and moves pretty well. And so, that's another 21 kid that, we'll kind of be interested to see what she ends up deciding and doing and how that affects her recruiting and stuff. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk WNBA, which has had a great week. And then we're going to talk a little bit more international, and then we'll hit on some prime stuff. So stay tuned after this break.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Athlete Vision Sports presents the most advanced new recruiting engine on the market today. Athlete Vision records all your big tournaments on high-definition video. You can show your A game to a nationwide audience, create your own player profile, or upload your own highlight videos. College recruiters have instant access to your tournament videos. Let Athlete Vision catapult you to the next level. Sign up for Athlete Vision today.
Welcome back after the short commercial break. This is Mark Williams, Shane Laflin. If you're watching from the baseline with Premier Basketball, we appreciate you tuning in. So this week, last Saturday, WNBA kicked off. Had a great weekend. All the teams played on various networks with ESPN, ABC, and CBS. And if you had the WNBA League Pass, I highly encourage you to go purchase it. I think it's like $17. And you can go back and watch all the games. And if you're a young lady who's aspiring to play at the college level or play pro, like, you got to tune into the WNBA.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it right now the basketball is really, really good. Being in the wobble that they're calling it. And it seems to be really good. But Shane, what's been your thoughts? We're a week into the WNBA. Everybody's pretty much played 3 games. What are your thoughts so far on the season?
Well, first impression was that quality of play started out much better than I would have expected it to. And that's not an indictment of the league. It's an indictment of the situation, or it's a comment on the situation. For them to have not been together very long. And then for some of these teams, due to positive tests or people opting out, having different lineups than maybe they expected. I mean, 10 days, I think, before they went into the wobble is when Mike T-Ball knew he wouldn't have Tina Charles and Elena Deladon, which means you're probably changing how you play quite a bit and relying on some people that you didn't know you were going to be relying on so heavily. And then from game 1, I watched everything Saturday and Sunday. They were all, I think they were all off Monday. They started to play again. And basically every team was better in game 2, which speaks to preparedness, the maturity of what it takes to be a pro, and then film work, and then how good the coaches are. I mean, situationally, obviously they're ready. I mean, they're pro coaches, so they're going to be ready. But it's just been fantastic. And the scoring is up. I mean, it's fun to watch. And I broke down some things. Everybody's played, almost everybody's played 3 games. We'll get another round tonight. Half the league will get their 3rd game in tonight. But taking a look at some stats, let's see. 50% or 57% of made field goals are assisted on. Okay, so I'm gonna do my Kornheiser and go to my notebooks. I broke some of this stuff.
So you said, let's make sure we understand this right, and then we're gonna make a point here. 57% of the shots made have been assisted. So when you make an assist, you're actually making it easier for your teammate to score.
100%.
That helps 100%. The team.
And then it affects other possessions later because getting defenses in rotation. I mean, and it's something else we'll talk about, touch on in a little bit. But really, the league right now it's certainly not post-oriented. There's a couple teams that still play post, what I would call traditional post-oriented basketball at times, and it's Minnesota and Phoenix. The difference between those 2 teams, in my opinion, is Minnesota guards and Phoenix doesn't really guard. And hopefully that can change going forward. But those 2 teams play with Griner and Sylvia Fowles, some post-oriented basketball. The rest of the league, for the most part, is spaced out. Now, you have an upper echelon of them that play at pace. Chicago, Seattle, and Washington, to me, and Dallas play at the highest pace. And they space you out. That thing's moving. At times, they have 5 people on the floor that can shoot the 3. Washington was amazing last night against Seattle, which was a matchup that I had circled in that first week, especially after what Washington showed us initially the weekend.
Right.
And Washington shot the cover off the ball last night. And I think that people knew Emma Meesman was good, but they're seeing her true value. She was just creating for everybody, and then she'll stick a shot, and then she'll up fake you and stick the two. And then Ariel Atkins is dropping threes. Leilani Mitchell's picking people apart. I was worried about them depth-wise, but they showed last night with Seattle, who is arguably the deepest team in the league, that they can obviously play with anybody. Mike T-Ball, they won a championship last year. What an incredible coach. Of the teams that are 3-0 or 2-1, 61% of their field goal makes are assisted. Okay, so in women's basketball, in my opinion, again, point guards, ball movement, and spacing, good shots. And I think it's basketball at all levels, but we've been really diving into, obviously with us on a day-to-day basis, high school, college, and now WNBA basketball. That's what leads to success. You got to be able to score. And I don't love the lockdown philosophy, the athlete only will guard you. Yeah, you got to be able to play D. Let's not confuse things there. But I think ultimately you got to be able to score. And in the women's game, that means you have to be able to shoot, because the majority of people aren't dunking, and the ones who are dunking aren't doing it in the half court, right? So Washington's 3-0. They're averaging 95 points per game. They're the only team that's 3-0. Shooting percentages, okay, to put things in perspective across the board for people who want to be college basketball players and think they want to be professionals. This is as a league, okay? It's not individual. This is as a league. Shooting percentage, 45.4% as a league field goal percentage. 9 teams are shooting 45% or better, okay? 3-point field goal percentage, 34.5%. Dallas is shooting the highest percentage, above 40. Half the league is above 35%. Free throw percentage, 77.8%. 8 out of 12 in the league teams are above 75%. So it is a shot-making league for success, and that's hard to argue. And with a 24-second clock, that ball cannot stick. No. So as far as your preparation, your growth, your skills, you catch, you make a decision. It is not a bunch of dribbling that makes for success. Catch and attack, great off the bounce, but you're doing something with it, which means to get to the paint to create, or get to the paint to score, or go to the free throw line. But it is not catch, look, handle, cone drill. It's just not happening. And it doesn't happen in the successful college programs either. Right. It just doesn't.
No. One of the things I've noticed and liked, being at the IMG, it's a really intimate place. You're not in these big arenas, right? And so you really get to see. But, man, I hope kids are paying attention to the pace that they're playing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not only the 24, but the pace of pushing and moving and running and the conditioning you have to be in, the lanes that you have to run, everything's a transition, and especially when you're in 24. And that's where developmentally I think our kids struggle, especially on the international stage, is they don't understand the urgency that you have to play with, even when you just have a 30 or 35-second shot clock. Like, we can't walk it up and just hold it and go that way. Like, you got to make decisions, and you got to be able to go. And that's what was really impressive and stood out to me, was the pace that everybody was playing from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, and I think that what you're pointing out is you have to be ready, and your preparation before the catch is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
So whatever action got you there, whether it was a lane run and a sprint back up to meet the ball on an advanced pass from Sue Bird, which then means you might have a step-up screen or, pistol action coming off of that, or a drag screen and someone spacing. There's always something upon movement that predicates the next action. And it's not just the two people a lot of times that are involved in the ball play, whether it's a ball screen or a blur screen or a handoff or whatever. Right. There's predications on everybody else. And so you can't think the game fast until you're in good condition and you've pushed yourself to play a little bit. And right. Once you've done that, the game starts to slow down for you and you're thinking faster. And basketball is a thinking fast game. And people think play fast means me catch, me dribble, you sprint. really when the game is played fast and well and efficiently, it's thinking fast, which means you got to be in really tremendous shape, and then you've got to be able to play in 2-man, 3-man actions on both sides of the court, right? Because you got to be ready to defend. That's another thing that we're seeing right now is a lot of teams, because of the way they play and their personnel, they're successful switching, right? Chicago does some switching because they have players that can get down and guard and use their length, like Azare Stevens or Gabby Williams, whom I love. They have people that maybe people would say they can be picked on defensively in Quigley or Sloop, but they find a way to get it done. And what's great is they can put pressure on you on the other end because they can flat out score it.
Right.
Seattle does a good job of switching with a lot of length. But I think what we're seeing is shooting percentages are going to really keep the people that are at the top of the league right now. You know, if they can keep it there, they're going to be really hard to beat. And like, I can't missed opportunity. Veteran coaches like Cheryl Reeve and Mike Tebow, who are missing players, finding a way to get it done. And I love watching Cheryl Reeve manage games because they are, to me, playing better than they are on paper. And that says a lot about Sylvia Fowles. It says a lot about their rookie Crystal Dangerfield, who came off in game 1 and gave them a spark. But for T-ball to have to switch up everything so close to the season starting, and like I said, it speaks volumes to their preparation and the quality of their team, and then how they put the team together. So he's also the GM. So that's been amazing. So I look forward to tonight's games, which Liberty versus the Dream, Fever versus the Wings, Aces versus Mercury. So we'll see if a couple teams in the Liberty and Mercury can get a first win. Let's see amongst the others who can get to that 2-1 and get that separation after everybody's played a few games.
Well, and how about the matchup of Sabrina and Kennedy?
Kennedy Carter tonight, which, early talk, right? Those were the one rookie of the year.
Yeah.
I think Ty Harris is going to have something to say about that, especially if Dallas is the youngest team in the league, and they turn the ball over the least, and they lead the league in 3-point percentage. I think the kicker with them right now, free throw percentage is low. It's 67.6%. And then obviously defensively, they'll have to tighten up with their young players. So if you watch Brian Agler's teams, they're going to get better defensively. And then when they get their rotation down, I think they're only going to be better. Don't sleep on the Wings as a matchup late. They have people who can put the ball in the basket. Glad to see Mariah Jefferson getting her legs back too.
Absolutely.
Game 1 to game 2 was like night and day.
Yeah.
And they've got some good rookies who are only going to get better. I think in a couple weeks, Sabely's going to round into shape, and Ty Harris has shown a maturity at the point guard position. No doubt with playing for Don Staley and then playing on the big stage. It's a lot like UConn. I feel like those players are going to be ready to play at the next.
Well, and that's been the other impressive thing, just with the COVID and certain players because of health reasons that have been staples. You talked about Tina Charles and Ellen Deladon, and but players have seized the moment. Maisha Hines Allen, they're Washington, and numerous other players, whether it's rookies stepping in or it's people who have been on rosters for a couple of years but been behind, superstars in the league who now it's their moment and their time. And WNBA is the toughest league pretty much in the world to make when you only got 12 teams, and you got superstar players playing for a long time, because in the women's league it's not about you blow a knee like in the NBA, you're pretty much done because of the athleticism part. The WNBA is such a skilled game that these ladies can play have much longer careers. And so, the cool thing is also getting to see some of these players, whether rookies or have their moments and shine and take advantage of the stage that they're given there. I mean, you had to see from the ESPN to pick up 13 more games, and last night the WNBA was on ESPN and the NBA was on ESPN too.
Our NBA was on TNT.
Or TNT. And so, those kind of things are big strides, for the league going forward. But we as fans of women's basketball and the AAU community really has to get behind and support these games and these players. To help
you will learn by watching, and emulating the successful players. We've got to stop letting people who are not educated in the next levels of game define what success and talent and game growth is. They're not invested enough in the game to do that. And that's not an indictment of all of them.
No.
But there are a lot who couldn't tell you anything about college or the WNBA and why the players are successful, trying to define to people what could be successful because they want their brand to grow.
Right.
And unfortunately, to be proven wrong, it takes a few years. And by the time they're proven wrong, that player's not successful, right? So as you spoke about, you have players taking advantage of a situation, whether they weren't going to originally make a roster or players that were behind people that got better, obviously, while they were behind people. And some of them even redefining their game. All of them simplified things and made their fundamental game better, and it enhanced their natural abilities. And I think that a lot of times the player development talk or player development things that we see via social media or whatever, it is people trying to make players seem more talented.
Yeah.
And that's just not the path that I would recommend.
Right.
And I talked to a lot of coaches the last few days, talked about the WNBA, talked about their workouts getting back in now that they're with their teams and everybody's doing it differently. Everyone together, not so much, 3 or 4 or 5. They talked about footwork and shooting consistency and togetherness and actions, but not one of them brought up to me their multiple cone, non-applicable skill drills, because they're not doing that.
No.
They're not doing it. No. They're setting their players up to be able to fundamentally make decisions and have skills. And again, a lot getting back on campus after this layoff have been working on playing lower and playing with good footwork, because that's the base of everything, not multiple cone drills. And those are great for maybe initial enhancement of ball skills if you're lacking them, but not everybody's going to be, Enrique. So we got to find your niche and be really good at what we're doing. So need to get off the soapbox. But I think that if people would watch the game and just be honest with themselves about what they're watching.
Right.
And then I would encourage more people to invest and do this, so then you can go be a better skills trainer or coach or whatever. Because again, these percentages are fantastic, and it's not due to one-on-one playing over dribbling. It's not. It's shot making. It's a shot making league, and in women's basketball, the game is a shot making game.
Absolutely. Well, it'll be cool to watch the games tonight, and then we have a full weekend again, Saturday, Sunday, with everybody playing, and pretty much it's Saturday, Sunday. Monday's typically off, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's typically off, and we're on. So encourage you, if you don't have a WNBA league pass, you need to go get one. You have aspirations playing in college or playing pro, you need to be watching. The NBA didn't take off till, one of the big factors was want to be like Mike. Let's find you a WNBA player that you want to be like and work on your game and try to mirror their game and take what they do well and learn it. So, good stuff there on the WNBA. Be some great matchups this week and this weekend. So, a little international basketball news. FIBA announced this week that the Under-19 World Cup in 2023 is going to be in Madrid, Spain. And so, a couple years ago, they did the Under-17s in Zaragoza. And it was a fantastic place. And Madrid's going to be a great spot for for the under-19s. And so, which is good. This next summer, there'll be under-19s as well. At the beginning of August is when they're slated to on the schedule to happen. And, we'll kind of see what they decide to do. If they try to do an under-17s, I don't know. There's been a lot of discussion within that. But that's the big news on the international side. A lot of countries are getting back to their leagues. They're starting September. Some have pushed back to October. And so it's good to see that the leagues and stuff are discussion is about getting those back on. So
we're seeing some American contracts even, so they're pushing forward. I think I just saw Japrice Dean maybe this week, or at least I saw it this signed a contract for a team in Russia.
Yeah,
so
Dynamo, and that's a huge. I mean, Dynamo's usually really good in the Euro League, and they've had Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner. They've had some big name players, so that's a huge sign there for Japrice Dean to go experience Russia, and that's a great opportunity for her from an international basketball standpoint. So you'll see signings start more and more picking up as the leagues, WNBA winds down, but the leagues kind of have a date. And most of your top teams are going to hold one of their internationals until about midway in the season and kind of pick up somebody late based on what they need as well.
Gotcha.
And stuff. And so because they can only sign, different leagues have different rules on that. And so,
right.
But yeah, so good news there. The Under-19 World Cup 2023 will be in Madrid, Spain. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So let's wrap up. Last thing, Prime event and Prime Event East. How's that looking? What's that looking like?
Man, really proud to say it is going to be 2 loaded fields.
Yep.
We will begin to talk about soon enough. We will start talking about the initial matchups. We will release the schedules in quadrants and talk matchups, and we'll have some coaches on and visit with them, and we'll do our best to kind of analyze and see what we got expectation wise. We will start putting out some of the commitment stuff next week as far as who's going to be there, and really market that, and we'll have both events live streamed and ready to go. Been getting calls on that and matchups and who's going to be where and who's watching who, and college coaches are ready. Matchups matter. There's no doubt about it. People are going to have games under their belt. So, in terms of what we were speaking about the WNBA, we expect some high-level basketball, and we want to get these matchups out early so people can, because they will have access, people can do some film study of their opponents. And hopefully they've been doing it of themselves already. But I think it's going to be cool to talk film study of opponents. I know last year going in, we all got calls about, all right, give me the scout on so-and-so. And we try to keep it fair and say, hey, here's some general stuff, here's some resources, but we want you guys to prep. We don't want to give one an advantage over the other. We get caught up talking basketball, of course, but I will encourage everybody with these brackets. That's where we're going to try to get them out a little early to do some scout and do some prep, because that's real basketball going forward. And so everybody will have that ability to do that. So, like I said, you and I will run up to Philly and head over to Spooky Nook. What is that? The 13th. We can be there for the 14th through that weekend. Right. So I'm looking forward to that. Matt Shockett's got good news every day about who's there, who's doing what. So we'll touch base, I'm sure, at some point today. And we'll put out some polls, see what the fans, the people watching, as far as who they think's going to win. We've got some heat coming to both, and some historical figures, coaching-wise, and should have some influential members from an evaluation standpoint watching as well, and as far as historical figures basketball-wise. So looking forward to that. So the way we've been kind of saying it for Prime Event is cross-circuit championship, matchups matter, and ready or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And Prime East will be August 14th, 15th, and 16th. There's Spooky Nook. The Prime event in Texas will be August 22nd and 23rd down in Mansfield, Texas. And so, we're going to have Prime Week. Is what that's going to be. From August 14th to August 23rd. And so, it's going to be a loaded week. And, it really is. It's not only what you do, but it's just as important as who you do it against. And, you
both team and individually.
Absolutely. And so which is really cool, which is going to be great this year because just of the COVID thing and not everybody getting able to play in certain spots. And so it's going to be great to get all these teams in one spot, and everybody's now had multiple weeks under their belt. And it should be a lot of really good basketball. And you got matchups from across the country. So teams are going to get to play teams they haven't played.
Yep.
And stuff. And so, we're really, really looking forward to that. And you can find info, but that's going to be live streamed for college coaches and fans. And man, we're excited about it. We're excited about it. So
in the inbox of every program in the country, we'll have the landing spots and the places where you can find the rosters and stuff. That'll be hitting everybody well before the event. So that information, obviously, we'll share social media wise, and every program in the country will get that in their inbox. I will send that to them.
Yeah. So, hey, pay attention to PBR Hoops on Twitter to figure out who's coming, who's where. Excited to announce their brackets sometime most likely next week. And then we'll dive in, with interviews and stuff like that, and really just kind of breaking down the brackets. And
yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss it. And, for those wanting top-end talent, I'm telling you right now, August, I know July is important, but this August Prime event, it's different. It's just going to be different.
No doubt.
Absolutely. So, but hey, we appreciate you tuning in to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. For Shane Laflin, I'm Mark Williams. Hey, you have a great week.